Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much to be watching us, friends of MSBN Radio and the church. And thank you so much for you, Felipe. I know you're not feeling well today. I hope you get well very soon. Uh, and we have an honor today to have Dr. Guilherme Cantuaria. I asked him and bugged him for many, many times to be in the radio with us because it's
Today.
um, Dr. Cantuaria is among to the most distinguished and experienced robotic gynecologist, and he specializes in cancer. He does surgery in the country. He worked in Northside as a director. Over years, Dr. Cantuaria is with the expertise in gynecology, cancer, led a lead in many lectures nationally, internationally. And he's author and co-authors a numerous publications focused on the subject. And he's exceptional doctor dedicated to medical service. He's very a doctor with a heart. He really cares about his patient, and he experienced with many years advocate so many people helping and save so many lives. And he believed that every patient undergo any circumstance of cancer, he really care about it as a unique, and he treats as an individual person. And his passion is a very similar to mine, which is a soccer. He loves to travel with his family. He loves Formula One racing, and during his free time, he loves to spend time with his family, his wife, and his two beautiful sons. He speaks Spanish, English, and Portuguese. Um, and we are have a very honor to have Dr. Guilherme, not just because the his certification, affiliation, education, thing like that. There's many other things he has, but much more, he's one of the many few doctors that have a big heart to help others. And Dr. Guilherme Cantuaria, thanks so much to be on the show today. I appreciate for your time, for your busy time. And we are today we're going to talk about passion of life, live with a passion. And this is the huge things many people unfortunately is live the drag in their life to going through. But I really think is the ways we go talk today go change many things. People can think about it, but how you discover how you fell in love with your life, and that's where we go talk about it. Dr. Guilherme, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for the generous introduction. It's interesting that I'm a surgeon, I'm an oncologist, I'm a scientist. Um, I like to discover things, and I end up here talking about passion of life. You know, of all the topics we can talk about, I'm asked to talk about the passion of life. So I thought that was actually interesting.
Well, one of the things, doctor, is I have you to talk about it because I'm very fortunate to meet you and talk about you told about your life and you really enjoy your life and you have a passion of what you do. And I want to give a little bit your background, how you came up in this level today, who you are. I know you went through a lot, and I know you want to be astronaut all the time. But one of the things I think triggered me was that you start talking how you live your life in the fullest and how you enjoy to do what you do. And even you mentioned about, I can't believe God gave me this gift that I get paid to be doing something I love so much. And this is really triggers me. It's like, wow, this guy lived through fullest of his passion about what he makes. And he you discover widely the passion about living your life and make your time to do those things. And I want the people start learning those things. I know you're a doctor. You can talk many things about cancer, and we like to one day to bring over here and talk more about the medical part. But I want to talk a little bit more deep inside yourself, how you're dealing with and your struggles when you went through those things. And of course, it's not everything's wonderful in your life, but however, I can see you do the best you can for you to be who you are today. And let's go a little bit into your biography on your life, talk about you as a person, how you grow up, and things like that.
Well, all right. So you mentioned one thing, that a quote of mine that I have felt early in my career. Um, I can't say I felt it during residency program, because that's kind of a brutal time where you work 100 plus hours a week. At least in my times of residency programs, we would work 100 hours a week, and it was extremely challenging times of and really fatigued and exhausted most of the time. But still, the growth at that time was important. But as soon as you end up being able to control a little bit more your time and do what you're called to do, the first thing is following the calling, and we'll get back to that in a second. But the quote that you mentioned about, and I did say this to you in the past, and I really meant it, is, isn't it incredible that I can come to work early in the morning, leave in the afternoon, have fun, enjoy, be happy, and at the end of the day, still get paid for it, you know? And I find that extremely, a blessing, you know, and most people should find that. Actually, I would go even further. I can't say that like my whole life was like that, but at some point, everybody's life should be that when Sunday comes and Monday is around the corner, that you are extremely happy that Monday's coming and not extremely upset that Monday's coming, because you're just going to do something so great and you're so happy to be there to do the things that you want to do. And everybody deserves to rest. Everybody should rest, and that should be, but rest should be something that we should have as part of our daily life. It shouldn't be, I'm only going to rest on Saturday and Sunday, and I'm going to work Monday through Friday like a dog. So that's a shift also in mentality. You know, one has to have a balance in life, and balance in life is a daily balance. It's not just the balance of the weekend and dreading the Monday and wishing for the Friday. So you should wish to be alive and happy every single day of the week, and that's how I am. I really enjoy what I do. I have a lot of fun. I have a very entertaining staff, and my patients are extremely pleasant. I mean, it's just fantastic, the day-to-day life here in the office and in the OR and in the lab. That's another thing I love to do. I am a full-time doctor, but I do on my free time is I investigate and I research new cancer drugs, mechanisms of action. My background, I've got an MD, PhD, so I have basic science background too, which I love the basic science part and discovery. And that's where many of my publications have come from, is basic science and discovering new treatments and trying to understand this beast of just cancer a little bit better. But going back to the calling, so life is kind of in stages, John. You have a stage of really being confused. Everyone has gone through that. I have, early in your life. My confusion was spending my whole high school years really thinking that what I loved to do was physics, astrophysics, and wanting to be an astronaut, and space really intriguing me, just by looking at the stars at night. And I really wanted to be an astronaut, believe it or not. And it was going to bed one night as an astronaut and waking up one morning as a doctor that I became a doctor. It was that quick of a change. I can't explain why. I never had any interest in being a doctor in those years. But it's God's way of surprising us. You know, you just have to be open all the time to receiving these signals and messages and graces from God. You know, and I think that's part of also life. One has to realize that you only can control so much in life. And when you have that realization, I think that is also a huge relief. And weight that comes off your shoulder. So that allows one, once you have that certainty that everything's okay. It doesn't matter if it went exactly the way you want it. Even when it doesn't go exactly the way you want, it's still okay. John, you there?
Hey, Dr. Guilherme, sorry, I was trying to unmute over here. Absolutely, this is what you said. It's very interesting how the life goes, right? We have some dreams about it, and it's like I want to be astronaut, and some people drag their life, their whole life is like, oh, I wish it was something else. But you just like, you know what? I go to do the best I can. I didn't come astronaut, but I came as a doctor, and you made it the best of your passion. Today is your passion about it. And I think one of the things is you discover what you're widely passionate about, what you want to do, and make the time the best effort for that. Um, this is a lot of things to learn from that, is how much we invest in yourself. And you did that. You invested so many years, like you said, when you went to, and the fellowship was very hard for you. However, I think this is mold you to be a better person. I think a lot of things that you think is, people you just look at the struggles only, and those doesn't see as a growing process. It's a very painful way sometimes for growth. Um, and what do you can you tell the people, how come you can become more tuned to yourself, and not what other needs, but what you think you need for yourself the best for you?
I think the most important point is really trying to find a balance. And I think if we look at all the social media and Instagram and other places, Facebook, everybody seems to have this beautiful life. And even the people that are motivators out there, and have these messages of upbeat messages on Instagram, and posting how their day is, how my morning is, how my evening is, how much you can do with the power of the mind, how much, all that is true, but one has to realize that everybody's life is different, So I think a lot of these Instagram messages and Facebook messages, if not looked at appropriately, they can actually cause more harm than good. I think they can cause people to be even depressed. You have someone up there, extremely successful, millionaire, saying, believe in yourself, believe in the power of the mind. This is that you can do anything you want. Well, all you have to do is think like this and you're going to get it. I think that is a very infantile way of looking at things, in my opinion. I think the mind is extremely, extremely powerful. But the most important message that I take when I look at things like that is how to incorporate that into my life. You can't project someone's life into yours. Everybody's unique, was made unique with a different purpose, different life, different income, different job, different surroundings, different family, different country. So one has to have that assurance and to be able to live happily in himself, and really, really know that. Let's go back 500 years, 1,000 years. People didn't have Zoom. People couldn't talk. People couldn't connect. And were they unhappy? They weren't happy people, and they were happy people. I can guarantee that 1,000 years ago in Rome or in Jerusalem or in China, there were happy people and unhappy people, correct? So one does not need all this technology to be happy. One does not need, look at all the people that you know that make minimum salary, you know, or very, very humble lives. Are all of them unhappy? Or I can guarantee that you've met people that are extremely happy. So what I'm trying to say is the way you look at life is more important than the life itself and how you handle the life. Everybody has, and you have to believe that you have the power to be happy. You know, that's the bottom line. It's how you look at things. And you can complain about a situation, suffer, resist a situation, or you can embrace and you can surrender to the situations. I think the path of embracing, including embracing suffering and accepting it, is a lot more fruitful and brings a lot more peace and joy than the paths of resistance and frustrations that some choose.
Hey, I just want to say hello to people watching us. Thanks so much. Amarildo Marcondes Alves watching us. Janaína say, Cristina say, hi, Dr. Guilherme. What a blessing to have us with us. And Vosmarli Marquez, she's with us. And thanks so much for everybody. Anna is watching with us, your wife and all the friends. I appreciate so much you guys. One of the things one of the questions people have over here is come from Vanessa. I say, doctor, I know you work with the cancer every day and you see a lot of sadness and people in a death row sometimes. How you deal with emotionally yourself about that?
To say that you don't get involved and you have a shield and you don't get involved with the emotions of patients, if I were to say that, I would be lying. I think we're more connected than we're disconnected as a human race. So, and if you feel that, and if you really believe that then obviously the suffering of others obviously affects you. But like I said, we're not shielded from suffering. God will not protect you from suffering, but He can definitely help you go through any suffering. And that's a very important message to know. So yes, we do have many cancer patients that are going and struggling through and going through very tough times. There is no doubt. But I have learned and I have seen and I continue to see on and more how strong one can be mentally, how strong one can be emotionally, and I learn from them. And my strength and my beliefs are stronger. My faith becomes stronger just by watching these patients and how they go through. I had an office yesterday, full office, and many of the patients were on chemotherapy. Many of the patients already with recurrent disease on second, third line treatment. Most of those that are in this situation are likely not to be cured from their disease. So can we keep them alive and keep them well? But I laughed and we laughed as an office and with the patients and with the nurses. I mean, it was just joyful. I mean, how can that be? I ended up at the end of the day talking to my nurse. Have you ever laughed so much like we laughed today? You know, and that's what I try to bring to the office. You bring joy, you bring life, you see different, just the blessing to be able to take a breath should be something that we should feel extremely grateful for. And so if you keep your mind and you let your mind own your life, instead of your true self, instead of who you are, not what you have, but who you truly are, then I think the mind will take over and make you an unhappy person. The mind will, as extremely, the human race as it went through the development from a caveman to the man that we are today, that we have all these spaceships and probes in Mars and Zoom, is because the difference between that human being and this human being has been the growth of the mind, the size of the mind, measurements have been made. And this great change between a prehistorical human being and the modern human being was the mind, the growth of the mind. So we got a lot out of the mind, there's no doubt. But it also brings us a lot of grief, because with the mind, you have the ability to always live in the past or project the future. So you can let the mind have all played this fantasy with you of being here. I'd love to be there. You're always trying to be somewhere where you're not. What is the definition of stress? Definition of stress, in very simple terms, is not happy where you are now and wanted to be somewhere else. It can be richer, it can be healthier, it can be with someone else by your side, or with work unfinished, and you wish to be finished. So that definition of stress is very simple: is the desire to be somewhere else where you're not right at that second. And that is created by the mind. That if you really go into yourself and have this exercise of centering prayer, or of deep, profound meditation, where you find your true self, you will come to the realization that what counts is the now, and you cannot suffer in the now. It's impossible to suffer in the now. In that exact, and the now is not in a minute, in 2 minutes, in 5 minutes. It's the nanosecond. In that specific nanosecond, if you're in that moment, you are mindful of that moment, and you are attentive to everything in that moment: the smell, the touch, the joy, the emotions, the energy, the vibrations. It's impossible to suffer. So that's how I go through the daily office practice. My patients do the same. I mean, my patients don't come in crying. My patients come in with a smile. They leave giggling, I mean, and you continue to fight. And that's the acceptance of life. And life it's a roller coaster, but you accept that there's ups and downs, and you live every second of it. Go ahead.
Hey, Dr. Cantuaria.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. Sometimes we. Hello.
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Oh, okay. I don't know what happened. Um, One of the thing is, what I notice about it, even the Bible said we need to be a light and be the salt. And what I see from you, I see a lot of lights from you. I see a lot of love and caring. And when I come and I have this fortunate time to spend time with you, we discuss a lot about the life, and it's for me, it's very fulfilling. I remember when I went through the last week of my mother. It was very interesting because it was a very stressful time. Actually, let's rephrase the thing. It was is interesting. I want to be there with her. The stress because my mom was pretty much suffering at the time. At the same time, I made the best of it. Why? Is because I felt very fortunate. First of all, the COVID, she died with the COVID. However, the time the hospital don't allow people to stay there more than 1 hour with the patient because of the dangers and all this stuff. Second thing was the doctors always walk in and things like that, and they always ask to leave because we can bring germs and virus from outside, and they're very vulnerable at that time. And that's why they request not to stay. But for some reason, the blessing of God let me stay there. And I stayed 24/7 there for a whole week. And I felt so fortunate. Even I see her suffering through that. without air, without the, she's feeling sick all the time, and she's crying, getting anxious, and things like that. There's all these things that is a suffering through the process. But to me, sometimes I have my time to go outside and pray and meditate about it, think about it, and have a little break and say, "Oh my gosh, the doctors come. Then every time I need them, he comes and talk personally with me. Nurse comes, I need anything, they comes over there. Of course, this is not the perfect world. For me, it was perfect that time because I feel blessed to spend time with her. Even it wasn't the best. She couldn't talk with me, but I could love her. And I think this is the biggest secret to the value of life is take your time, spend time, the what is important in that moment, like you said, Dr. Guilherme, is take your time to listen to God, to listen to yourself, to listen to others. And with experience you have that you can inspire others, or sometimes you can damage others. Depends how your attitude that time. And what I see is when you walk in the room, you say, you walk in with this already this attitude that say, I go over there to make the best of it. The patient has already suffered the cancer. It's not easy. And when you come with this attitude about, say, I want to make a difference in this life. I want to be give a light to them. I want to be a salt. I want to give some something that at the end of the session I have with this patient, this person will feel better. Because I remember one of your patients told me, I have this polyps in my some fibroids and things like that. I have some problem with my some complication with it could develop the cancer, and she was in panic. And you walk in the room and you told her, and you say, hold my hands, and you hold the hand and say, you know what, everything's be okay. Doesn't matter what will happen, I be with you. And that person remember until today every details what you said to her. That meant so much. And I think this is the thing, the appreciation you have in life is that's the lights we need to transmit. And I want to, Dr. Cantuaria, that can you give a little advice to people to live the struggles, because so many people listen this moment right now on the radio or on Facebook or things like that. They struggle right now. Maybe they struggle with a depression. Maybe struggle with a cancer. Maybe they just lost some special person in their life, or losing somebody person. Somebody say, well, I'm here in this country that I don't want to be here anymore because I work myself so much that I don't know what's the meaning of life. People losing the hope. The suicide rate increased 200% among the teenagers, 100% among the people 40 to 50. People losing hope and skipping out, and they don't have this vibe of living life anymore. Could you give a little bit, like, say, how you can come up a little bit above this moment? Because you see a lot of suffering, doctor. I think you see more than most people's listen now. But you bring so much lights, but I think have a hope. I think have a hope. And can you give me a little bit about, a little bit insight from that, from you?
I wouldn't get desperate. And I'm not going to say that it's easy. I'm not going to say that I'm always at peace and I'm always joyful, because that's what people want to portray to everyone else, especially through social media. And that's false. That's a fallacy. Those people that are posting the most upbeat messages on social media struggle too. They get mad. They struggle. They're unhappy. They kill themselves too. So everyone. So the first thing is that I want to say to everybody that has any struggle is, we all do. We have different ones, and what might be small struggle for one person may be a huge struggle for another. You know, what may be a small problem for one person may be a huge problem for another. So the perspective of the problem is also important. At the end of the day, everybody goes through struggles. Everybody goes through doubts. Everybody gets unhappy. Everybody gets mad. everybody suffers at the end. And so how do you change the equation to be more time without suffering than with suffering? Because you will be bouncing back and forth. I mean, Jesus Christ on the cross had a slight doubt, and he said, God, have you forsaken me? So it's going to happen. As a human being, you are going to have this, and that you just have to acknowledge and then reverse it. And so I look at the things as a circle, as a sphere. People that remember physics, there is the centrifugal force that throws everything outside the center, and there's the centripetal force which brings everything in. So in that aspect, if you look at life of people that suffer, and I have some patients that just struggle until the end. They just can't grasp this. They always resist the moment, resist what's going on with them. And if whatever you resist persists, whatever you embrace, you move on with grace. So I try to transfer these patients' minds to embrace things and not resist things. But I think to people that suffer are on the sphere, on the outside. They're on the periphery of this circle of the sphere. And that's where your problems, it can be financial, bad investment, no job, working like a dog, my significant other cheated on me, my son hates me, I don't like my mother, or God knows what's going on with people. I just broke my leg. If you let all that stuff on the periphery get to you, you can never be at the center. And it's only at the center, in the deep spot of the center where it resides the soul, that you can be with extreme joy, extreme bliss, extreme happiness, extreme love. When you get to those points, even if it's a nanosecond in a day, next day you're gonna have 2 nanoseconds. And the following week, you're gonna be a minute in 24 hours in that space. And what I try to do with my life is I try to make as many moments I can have in that absolute center is when you allow and you are able to be what you just mentioned, which is the salt and the light. Because it is only through that moment that you are in oneness with God. And then only in that moment can God be fully through you, do whatever he needs to do to that person in front of you, to that animal in front of you, to that situation that you are in. You make the best decisions, and that's how you are. And that's how I feel. And the patients do the same. So when I go and see a patient, that's what I try to do. I try to be in that conduit, and I try to be in that oneness. Because it brings everything together.
Yeah, that's pretty much what you said is very true. One thing I think one of the things is the biggest problem right now, I think we having, and I think most of the people suffering, is because we, like you mentioned, we don't live in the moment. And if we live in the moment, if I suffer right now, I always have this in my mind. This is, doesn't matter what you have going through now, is everything has a beginning, middle, and the end. If you're going through something really horrible, eventually they go subside. Doesn't matter how bad the weather it is. If the rain is look like it's never going to stop, eventually go away. And I think this is the value you have, and think about the best of it. And one of the things I always have in my mind is this: doesn't matter what you have right now. Think outside your picture of yourself, where you are, and think something, what I can learn from this. How can I be positive about this? What the God tried to teach me? What the spiritual meanings of that? Because we can live in the bitterness all the time. Like you said, doctor, you can come in there and you say, then I'm very busy. I see, 20 patients a day and people suffering. You understand what's going on with me and things like that. But Or you can look at this and then what? I go try to do the best for this person. I think that's how I think I'm learning from you, doctor, a lot is that how we can make a better to make a better to others. I think this is the thing. We should bring the light, not darkness. If you have a dark moment, you better reflect about yourself. That's you and I, Dr. Guilherme, we talk about a lot about that. I think you need to keep inside and have this moment and meditate yourself and say, hey, what do we need to go through? You need to pray to God and say, God, what I doing right now? And look yourself, mirror yourself, and look yourself inside to see what's happening.
I'll give you a
Because
story. This
go
is a,
ahead.
this is a true story of a baker. A baker during the pandemic. I mean, in the peak of the pandemic, the guy, we need bread, we need to eat. So a few things were still open and could be open, so that the society could move through the peak of the pandemic when everybody was confined to their homes and couldn't leave. So this baker is going out of his home every single morning, going to the bakery to make bread so that it would be on the shelf for people to come in, purchase, and have what to eat when everything was closed. And so he's putting himself at risk because he's leaving the house while 99% of the population is at home. Doctors are still out there, but I'm talking about the baker itself. So the baker, you'd think, doesn't have a doctor's salary, probably has a very small salary compared to a doctor's salary, probably doesn't live in a doctor's home. And he actually said something so lovely that I can guarantee that baker is probably happier than any Jeff Bezos or God knows what, any billionaire out there. He would go make the bread, and in every single, he wasn't thinking about he was struggling, if he was going to be at risk, get infected, come home, get his family infected. He was not worried that he was in pain, standing on his feet all day making bread. He was tired. None of that. He went and he made that bread with so much love because he wanted to pour into that bread all the love so that that person, when he got that person at that home, got that bread and ate that bread, would feel all the love he had just poured into making that bread. And that's a very simple example of it doesn't matter where you are in life. You just have to find this love and this joy. And we're here. Creation was made out of love. We are products of creation in the likeness of God. So we're supposed to be just like him. We have to do what is just pour this love as much as you can on a daily basis of no matter where you are. And when you fail and when you don't get upset, I mean, I just cussed someone out. I just kicked the garbage can. I just got upset. I just shouted at my boss. We are going to go through those moments. We all. But you just have to be in the continuous practice of coming back to the basis, coming back to the basic foundation of who you are in God. And when you are there, you'll change. You're not going to feel guilty that you just did something. Just go say sorry. It's okay. People want to have grudges. That's their problem. You're not going to keep any. You know, you're forgiven from before you even did anything else. You know that. Our faith tells us that God forgives us unconditionally. It doesn't matter. Even before you did, you already knew you were going to do that, actually. God knew. And you already forgiven before you. So you shouldn't feel guilty about the things wrong that you've done. You've done you're guilty. Just go back and continue to love. So the moment should not be the future, should not be the past. It should be the moment. This moment, I'm going to be full expression of God's love in everything I do. It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter if I'm pouring gasoline into the car. It doesn't matter if I'm seeing a patient in the office. It doesn't matter if I'm with my dog at home playing on the floor.
Wow, doctor, you know what? One of the things I listen to you, I'll be honest with you, just listen to you right now, making me very calm, making me humble, and make like what else I can do today to have a better day. And you inspire people. The, and it could be many, many other things. We can talk about scientists, you can talk about diseases, can talk so many things. Why I choose to have a how to live your passion with a fulfill with your life is because I see on you that. That's the reason I choose this team. And because we all have a sadness. This life is to say, oh, I wish you the most happy, better day every day for your life. Doesn't exist. We have a thorn in our life. We have before we get the flowers, we have a thorns, and so many things come and it can hurt you. People can hurt you. Disease can hurt you. Cancer can hurt you. Bad relationship can hurt you. Many things can do with people dying or you're losing things, you lost your job or other things, this and that. However, if you see other side of things, it's like, wow, something is good coming out. Like a baker guy, he comes in, he say it's not about what he how much he gonna make. It's like, if it's like, let's say he make $500,000, he could be happier than he making $50,000. It's not about the numbers. It's just enjoying to see the people eating and enjoying his food. They say, oh gosh, mister, your bread is amazing. I don't know what you have. And it's so funny. I make this miso soup everybody loves, and quite a bit people enjoy this miso soup. And people are like, this is better than your mother miso soup. And they'll say, well, what do you do? I said, I put a lot of love there and caring. And I think same thing. I see you guys watching us, and I see Dr. Cantuari, what he does, he do with a love. I think that's a big difference. I think Jesus came to this place over here, and I say, I give you two things, the commandments. Forget about all the commandments. Exist, all the commandments is by law, but I got two things I want to do is love your God with all your heart. What does that mean? That's mean whatever you do, God is the universe. God is everything. He should be living inside your heart. He should be living inside your mind. He should be constantly with you all the time. I guarantee you, you can explain a little bit how you do, doctor, but I guarantee you pray all the time for the patient when you're doing the surgery. I bet you ask the guidance of God that you give you as his instrument. Now you'd be like, oh, I'm the doctor, I go cure you. No, the power is not come from you. You have a knowledge, thank you, God, you have, but the power comes from the God that give you the wisdom and the love and caring. And second thing is to love others as much you love yourself. And I think that's the comes that if you do have those two things, you're totally complete as a person because the love is everything. I remember Mother Teresa one time visited this church, and this priest was feeding everyday homeless people for 200 people homeless every day, people going by in the church and giving food. Beautiful thing, right? My gosh, that's a love. That's a caring, right? And he said, but this priest said, Mother Teresa, I feel very empty about this. I feed every day, people get fed, but I still feel empty. I don't feel like having much to do with this. I doing things, but I don't feel anything. I don't know if it will make a difference. I know they're barely full, but for myself, I'm still empty. Mother Teresa said, you need to reflect on one thing, Father. You need to put more love, whatever you do. Then I go change things. That's all she said. And he went there and he's thinking overnight, things like that. And he went back, he's like, you're right. I do very things mechanically. I think I do more a lot for appearance. People are like, wow, this parish over here, this priest is amazing, giving food to the people they need, and this is beautiful, Father, this and that. He's accomplished that level, but he didn't accomplish in his love. What he did was, what he changed is he started talking with people. Hey, good morning. How your day? He started changing his way. And other people's working with him started doing the same thing. And people started explaining their problems. And they came, not just the food, but he started giving some spiritual food as well. And he started talking about God, the love and the caring. And eventually came as a community started coming to the church. And not just that, they start to have a communion with them. And eventually they start talk about education, service, you know, sometimes they let us sleep over there and things like that, and totally change the perspective how he works. And then that's how we need to do is we need to pray often to ourselves. And Dr. Guilherme, could you tell a little bit when you're doing the surgery on these people that is under there and the people outside waiting there, and they're like, of course, the problem is praying as well, but they're, you know, they're going through that, and you know people crying outside and have a lot of things going on this moment. Same thing. How people, how you do when you're doing the surgery? Where's your mind? I know you're very dedicated and focused, but what's your what's going on in your mind that moment?
All right. So several things, but let me get to them. If hope I'll remember everything I want to say. So I do, at least for my field, the most difficult of the most difficult surgeries. What others can't do, they'll send to me. And doing cancer surgery in itself is extremely challenging surgery, dangerous surgery, and challenging. So it requires 100% attention. So if a family member comes before surgery, or the patient or somebody, can you take a picture? I'll say, I'm not a photographer. I'm not going to remember. I'm not going to think about it. I don't want to think about anything, but I'm going to be completely immersed in doing your surgery. I'm not going to have a thought in my head other than being completely present at the time of surgery, which means I am so concentrated. I don't have music in my room so that I don't get distracted. And I don't blame surgeons. A lot of surgeons have music, but for me, I prefer to be 100% concentrated and nothing taking my mind out of the surgery. And that presence, that being present, you can do a 3-4 hour surgery on your feet standing up. And I don't realize that any back hurts, any leg hurts, nothing hurts. And when I'm just finished with the last stage of surgery, suddenly everything hurts. I look at the clock and I say, my gosh, it was like 3 hours standing over here in the same position. And I didn't realize it. You don't realize it. If you're that present, if you're that concentrated, if you're that much in the zone, time goes by in a time. That's another talk for another day. Of the unreality of time, of how time does not exist. You know, that's a whole different talk, which physics is going in that direction. But anyway, that presence allows me to be something that I can't be at church during the sermon, standing up for while the priest is saying his part. You stand, and I'm 5 minutes, and I'm moving side to side. I mean, God, when is he going to stop talking? Because everything starts hurting, and that's only like 5 minutes standing up, you know, because you're just paying attention to your leg. But if you take the attention from your leg, take the attention from your back, and you put it somewhere else, none of that is in your mind, and everything goes away, and time just flashes. So it's full concentration. I have a different way of praying. There are many different ways to pray. People pray different ways. People like praying the rosary. Other people like mantras. Other people like masses, or going to to church. And I do that Sunday because of community. I don't do it because of obligation. I go to church because of community. I want to see my friends. I want to talk to people. I want to be in community. But my type of prayer is not reciting prayers or having a prayer with the family before surgery. It's not my style. It's not me. Patients should have already the confidence that I'm already doing that no matter what. And so I'm not there to show anybody what I'm doing. It's not a spectacle. People should already know I am going to be completely immersed. And I think that I'm a conduit of God. So God's acting through me to do the best for that patient under that condition at that point in time. And if I'm present, I'm being tapped, I'm tapping into that ultimate love and ultimate force, ultimate knowledge to do the right thing then at that time. And that's how I between surgeries, I do a little recovery, before surgery. I spend some time and I just do some centering prayer, 5 minutes and things like that, regroup, recenter, and come back and do the next one. So it's kind of just a small routine. Sometimes it's a minute. Sometimes I just have 1-2 minutes. I had to go eat something because I'm a little bit hungry, or I had to run to the office, run and do something really quick, come back for the surgery. So sometimes I'll do a little minute or two. I'll just regroup and go back in.
Yes, that's a very important things to do. That's this. We almost have time is up. It's time for you to slow down your mind after you did all the surgery. Um, that's something I want to talk a little bit is because you do a lot. That is to slow down your mind. You pray about it. You think about through this process, and some people, each one call the name whatever you want to call, but some people call it like your empty your mind, your meditate your life, or your pray about it, and each one have different things, but the meaning is the same. That you comes and silence your mind and keep the complication out, whatever happens there. And I think that's the same thing is any situation you are, if you know how to silence your brain, make a big difference. And I know you do that, doctor, because we already talked about. Could you give a little bit tip about this? Because this is very important. You to learn to breathe, you learn to live, you live to calm yourself, and that's the secret I see yourself. That you make your life much more complete and more beautiful that way.
Where your mind goes, the energy flows. So the bottom line is you have to concentrate where you're going to put all that energy. There's a monk who's in this monastery and is walking barefoot. It was summer. The floor was extremely hot, and he'd have to walk from his room all the way to wherever they did their service. And the monk would feel that heat on the stones of the monastery, burning his feet. And he said, "This ain't right." I mean, he's walking barefoot, and so he went to talk with the Zen master over there at that monastery, or it's not a monastery if it's a Zen. I'm not sure what they call that, the Buddhist temple. Anyway, he went to talk with the Zen master and said, "Look here, master, I don't know what to do, but this ain't right. I go leave my room over there, and I got to walk all the way over there. This hot sun, I'm stepping on these rocks, it's burning my foot. I mean, can't we do anything about it? Can't we?" And he said, "How about you got two? How many feet do you have? Two. How many feet are on the floor at the time that you are walking? One. The other one's elevated to give the step. So while you are giving that step, concentrate on the foot that's moving, that's not touching the stone, instead of concentrating on the foot that's on the stone burning your foot. And that way you'll be all right." The bottom line is you just have to keep your mind off the suffering, the things that bother, and then it goes away. And if I'm 4 hours standing up in surgery, it's obvious that my back is cramping, my legs are cramping, but I don't realize it because my mind's somewhere else. And that's what you do in anything in life. You have to take the mind off the stuff that's bringing you the suffering, concentrate on the stuff that you want to do, which is productive and fruitful and important in life.
Wow, I learned so much, doctor. I don't know if you have another 2 3 minutes, but I one thing was amazing was the last meeting I had with you. You told a story about this homeless woman, and it really touched me a lot. And I don't know if you can explain right now, but or we can do next time. But it was amazing. I don't know if you can.
Okay.
Um, uh,
I'll say it. It's a beautiful story. I was coming
could
back
you?
from a call to
Yes.
the hospital, wintertime. dark, pitch black dark night. Had been called for an emergency in the operating room. I was driving back. I was the only car on the street coming down a hill, and really, really dark. And I saw this person pushing a grocery cart up the hill. And I was driving my fancy car down the hill, you know, and I just saw this figure, you know, I couldn't see anything but a figure and somebody pushing this grocery cart up the hill. So I was really close to home, and I turned the corner, got into my street, got into my garage, and that thing just bothered me tremendously. And I had already separated a ton of stuff that I was going to donate to Goodwill or any charity, and it was already all prepared. So I said, look, you know what I'm going to do is I got all that stuff that was ready to go to charity, and I put it all in the trunk. And I drove back to that hill so I could find this person that was pushing this grocery cart up the hill. And it took me some time because, I mean, it was dark, and I was the only one on the street and that person that was on the pushing the cart. I finally found her, so I parked my car right in front of her in the middle of the street, and I went to talk to her. And just like a star glows at night, this person glowed. Her face was glowing, you know, glowing not like the sun, but glowing because you could see beauty of glow. Lady full of wrinkles, had probably 2-3 teeth in her mouth. You could see that she had had her extremely rough life. And with all those wrinkles, just a few teeth, this beautiful, you could just see beauty in this person. I mean, that's what I felt. I felt beauty. I mean, it's just beauty and shiny, you know, out of this person. So I stopped her and I said, look here, I'm seeing you pushing all the cart, and I had all this stuff that I was ready to give to charity. How about I give it to you? Before that, I actually asked her about her life, where she was going with the cart, where she had come from. She was Romanian. She had come to this country. She was going to I'm in Sandy Springs. She was going to push the cart, she said, all the way to Alpharetta. I'm thinking to myself, seriously, how the hell is she going to get to Alpharetta, you know, with this cart? You know, no, I go all night, a little bit, stop a little bit, go a little bit, stop a little bit, stop. And by the morning, I'm over there. You know, it's amazing. So I said, look here, I've got all this over here in the grocery cart. Let me just, how about you just look, why don't you do the following? Look at this and you pick whatever you want and just take it for you. She just smiled and maybe even a little giggle and said, I don't want anything. And then it touched me how stupid I was being. I'm thinking to myself, this lady is pushing a cart full of stuff, you know, that she had packed over there. Inside, it was literally already full. So first, nothing else would fit. Two, if it fit, it would make it heavier and harder for her to get to Alpharetta, wherever she needed to go. And I'm saying that is really, really silly. I thought I can't even be a doctor thinking something so silly. And then so I said, look here, I understand that was really, really silly of me, but don't you go anywhere. Don't you leave this spot. I have some money at home. I always have a little bit of money at home. So I'm going to run home. I'm going to get all the money that I have, and I'm going to come bring this money to you. That's not going to be any weight. You just put it in your pocket. You do whatever you want with this money, and you live your normal life. She smiled again. And she said, and she pointed to the cart and said, everything I need is over here. I don't need anything else. I mean, that thing just touched. I just drove back home weeping. I mean, not crying, man. Like, tears are coming out of the windows of the car. I mean, I was so amazed by that. And then I said, let me go back. I just want to be with this person. I don't even want to go home. Let me go be with her again. Maybe I'll just drive her up to Alpharetta. You know, you couldn't even think the stuff. This person is so touching. So I drove back. I couldn't, I mean, where I just left her. I had just left this lady in that spot. And with that heavy cart, there's no way she could have gone too far. Disappeared. Just like an angel. Comes and goes. Disappeared. Couldn't find her again.
Wow. Wow. It's very inspiring. It's every time is if you can tell me 100 times a story that I think is very touching. And if you are in this moment that we this is the thing is doctor is sometimes we just like, oh, this person is it doesn't have any value. This person could be the biggest teacher for you. I think you went to a lot of professors, PhD, and all the stuff, but this is the person teach you lesson of life. And I'm here today, listen to Dr. Guilherme Cantuaria with the humility and be humble. And I guarantee you, I know him personally, and every time we talk with him, it's like light my life. And I learn every time, and we have a great time together. And I want to tell you guys, you let's start learning to be the stream of life, be a light, be a salt, and like this, like you said, we learn so much through so many things. Could be suffering, could be happiness, could be sadness, or it can be anything. And I guarantee you, let's slow down a little bit our mind and think what you need the most. That's I hope you can learn from that. Dr. Guilherme, could you give your last thought for us? And I appreciate so much for your time, for your precious time.
Well, I think I've given enough thoughts. I just want to thank you for the time. I love spending time over here. I'm extremely busy. I try to make time to be on these interviews as much as I can. And I hope the people that were listening enjoy and they've gotten something productive out of this, and that they can try and live a more joyful life. We all can, everything's perfect. There's a saying, everything, this moment is perfect, but it always can be better. You know, you always can do it. So you always try to be better. It doesn't matter where you are. You can be better spiritually, loving, humble, forgiving, inspiring, better in your job. You can even have the conviction that this moment is a holy moment, and it is because it's a holy moment. Every moment in life is a holy moment. It is perfect, but I'm going to do better in the next moment.
Wow, Dr. Guilherme, thank you so much for spending time with us. MSBN, thank you so much, and everybody listen. I hope you learn as much I learned. And thank you, Felipe. I know you're not doing well, but I hope after this session, you are much better. And thank for the love and caring, guys. Love yourself, love God, and love what you do. Even you think it's not best, but it's a moment, like Dr. Guilherme said. Love this moment. You can do every day. You can do better. Thank you, guys. Ciao.